Another very useful thing to have in this transitional period of collapse would be kind of Solarpunk Laboratories, where all the basic science tools that we can easily buy now cheaply, we have examples of all of them. Stuff like microscopes, because we're going to lose a lot of stuff. Like, think of all the work that we did yeast ranching, to make beer. We have all these kinds of yeasts available to us now. If you go to like a brewer supply store, you can pick all these liquid yeasts, and what we have to do is, just as we need a great library or great libraries, just as we need seed banks and living seed banks as well, we also should have yeast banks and microbe banks, and even stuff like composting worms, to make sure that we can have those in every community, so we get a whole bunch of laboratories protecting all of these things and enhancing them. So that's definitely something that would require some funding and some sciencey people, more sciencey than I am, to operate them. Now, there is a big problem. I read one thing that said, this was written in 1988, talking about how genetic engineering was advancing so rapidly that pretty soon everybody would just be able to buy genetic engineering kits. And the guy was very in favor of that, talking about how that's going to create this wonderful revolution of us creating all these new organisms and stuff, and it'd be really great. And I'm like, well, and he does mention, like, maybe we want to worry a little bit about that. I'm worried a whole lot about that. I don't want people having genetic engineering kits, because we're going to kill ourselves for sure if we do it. And I wrote in the book I was reading about it, I said we're going to die in front of that essay, because it's just too easy to edit if you're a person who wants to do it on purpose, you could edit a disease to make it kill more people, and that's a very likely way that we all die. It's quite likely, actually. I mean, sure, we could get hit with an asteroid, or various things can happen. But if we create even one single organism of the wrong sort, it could literally kill everyone. I remember reading about somebody in Portland, some woman who was a scientist, and she was trying to create something that would protect plants against disease of pests, bugs. And she designed an organism that produced alcohol on the leaves of plants. And that luckily was killed because they realized that if that actually got out into the wild, it could kill off all life on the planet, all plant life. And if all the plant life dies, we die. So we should be very careful with genetic engineering stuff like that. And that's not an anti-science point of view. A lot of people are like, if you're not in favor of GMOs, you're ignorant and stupid, you hick. And it's like, these GMOs are going to save us all. They're all wonderful. And it's like, I'm not inherently against them. I wouldn't mind some glowing fish. They have glowfish. And they're like fluorescent or whatever. We could make fluorescent koi. That'd be cool. I like koi. Really cool looking fish. They're a type of carp. But if we genetically engineer we beasties, we could seriously kill us all really easily. So that's not something we should do. Selection of plants to breed them is very different than engineering them. And I wish more people understood that. I even heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say a dumb thing conflating the two once. That's the only dumb thing he said, but it's a really bad one. Just because someone knows about one kind of science doesn't make them an expert in all the other kinds of science. And certainly not when you involve ethics and predicting the future of how humans can actually use these things to do really bad stuff. Because some science shouldn't happen. And so our hope is that civilization will collapse at the correct rate, where we lose our ability to do all this fancy science shit before we kill ourselves with it.